Alright, now it is time to boot up the game and get the cool little opening. Wait, where is it in my list? There it is. Should load in just a moment. Someday the game will load. There we go. And then someday it will pop up on my broadcasting software. Any moment now. But bam! Everything's good! You can hear me, you can see me, you can see my game. Everything is on track. Oh, yay! Thank you. Very much appreciate the host. Alright, so this is gonna be the finale of Rod's Route, and we're guaranteed the good ending, because I have gone through and quite carefully picked all the right choices. I really dig this opening. Like, oh, so excited to see how it works out. You're right, me too. Oh man, alright. I don't want to talk over the opening too much, but oh man. Where we left things last time? Like, Emmeline in a trance carrying a knife? Because Lucette made a mistake. A mistake. And when I say Lucette made a mistake, I mean her mistake was taking Mithros up on anything ever. Aw, everything is jalapeno and nothing hurts. That's very sweet. I just saw that. Yes, mistakes were made by Lucette, and those mistakes involved extending an ounce of trust, even the slightest ounce of trust to Mithros. Like, the fact, I get that she was desperate, but the fact that she asked Mithros for help is not gonna go well. But it will go much better than I'm sure it could otherwise have, on the basis, simply because Lucette, or rather, simply because I have guaranteed a good ending, so this should work out okay in the end. One way or another. Alright. Let's see, we gotta do the thing. Chapter 10, The Mermaid's Voice. I stop in my tracks when I see Sir Mithros standing just in front of the main door to the throne room. He looks at me expectantly as I approach. He said, Sir Mithros? Mithros. Good evening, Your Highness. Such a lovely night tonight, isn't it? Only half an hour left before you will turn 18. Lucette, shocked. Mithros. Do not forget our deal, Princess. Come midnight, I will be requesting your aid in exchange for helping the prince break his curse. I clench my hands into tight fists. Lucette. Helping the prince break his curse? Rod, killing someone is not what I wanted! Sir Mithros puts a finger to his lips. Mithros. You wouldn't want to attract the attention of the knights, would you? There would be quite a bit of explaining to do then. I glare at him, then take a deep breath and lower my voice. Lucette. You did not tell me that breaking Rod's curse meant killing someone. Mithros. Oh, but I am only honoring my end of the deal. Perhaps you should have done your research before agreeing. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Like, Lucette, it's understandable that Lucette made this call. Like, I think she just didn't know what else to do. But it was a bad call, and she absolutely should have done her research by actually reading the dang fairy tale before asking the sketchiest guy for help. The grin on his lips never wavers, but I can see the amusement in his eyes. Lucette, thinking to herself, I relied entirely on the story Emmeline told me, and that was my biggest mistake. I should have read the full fairy tale. Yes, you should. At least she has realized. A little bit too little too late, but at least she realized. Like I would understand if she made the call knowingly, but not actually reading. Yeah, that is just silly. But yada yada, short story otherwise. Yeah. She, I mean, and here, she has acknowledged it. She relied on word of mouth for the story and never actually sat down to read it. And she has realized, oh no, I have made a mistake. Mithros. But now it seems you finally know the full story of the prince's fairy tale, To break his curse, Prince Rod must kill his beloved with the knife his sister has brought him, just like in the fairy tale. Oh my goodness, she did Facebook research. Basically, yeah, she just asked her friend. Sir Mithros continues to smile at me. I realize that he is speaking slowly, like one might speak to a child. Lucette, thinking to herself, so condescending. No, wait. I start to realize that Sir Mithros is purposefully drawing out this conversation to stall me. Lucette, I need to go. Mithros does not stop me when I slide past him to open the doors to the throne room. The first thing I see when I enter the throne room is Rod. He is standing in the middle of the area with Emmeline in his arms. Lucette, is she alright? Wait. Alright. Rod gently places Emmeline on the throne. He leans down to look more closely at her sleeping face, then reaches down to take the object in her hand before he faces me. I can see the metallic glimmer in his hand, and know that he is holding the knife Emmeline brought with her. Rod, where did she even get this knife? He pauses to stare at it, and then turns suddenly, eyes widening at some sight in another part of the room. I follow his gaze to the corner of the room, where Viorica floats in midair. Her eyes are closed and her hands clasped, as if she is just sleeping. Lucette. Viorica? But how? Mithros. Such a pleasant surprise, isn't it? Sir Mithros walks into the room with his hands clasped behind his back. Rod. You! Mithros. Good evening, your highness. Rod. Is this your doing? Sir Mithros just smiles at him pleasantly. Rod only glares back at him. Rod. Guards! Sir Mithros clicks his tongue and chuckles. Mithros. My apologies, your highness, but no one will be able to hear you, no matter how loud you shout. Not even your witch friend will hear anything through my magic. Lucette, thinking to herself, he knows Delora is here. I glance around the room and notice that Sir Mithros has created his silent green barrier. Lucette, thinking to herself, this is the same magic he used yesterday. Mithros. Now, let us get back to the matter at hand. You are running out of time, Prince Rod. It would be a shame to see you perish here after the princess went through the trouble of asking me to save your life. Rod, shocked. Lucette, what is he talking about? Lucette. Mithros. The princess didn't want you to die, so she asked me to help break your curse. Sir Mithros spreads his arms, gesturing towards both Emmeline and Viorica. Mithros. And so I have been kind enough to set the stage and gather its actors for what I hope will be a wonderful finale. Oh, he's so smarmy. I can't help but wonder how this fairy tale will end. Rod. Why would you do this, Lucette? Lucette. I did not know it meant killing Viorica, I swear. That is why I came here, to stop you. Rod. I told you so many times that there was nothing you could do to help me, and yet you still refused to listen to me. Maybe if you had told her the whole context yourself? Just saying, Rod, at any point you could have said, yeah, my other option is killing Viorica, and Lucette would have been like, oh shit, well of course you're not gonna do that. No? Well, alright, it's fine. Filed under would have been a shorter story that way. Actually, no, I mean, that would have... Maybe it just would have made things less dramatic because she would have had no reason to ask Mithros for help if she knew. If she knew what she was asking. Anyway, Lucette. Let me just go back and reread that. Because the expression on his face, I was reading him a little bit angry, but I think he's kind of like, oh no, as much as he's... So I'm gonna reread from here. Oh right, and also I forgot to mention, but I'm not gonna run out of tea today anytime soon. I don't know if I can get the label to show up. Nope, you know what? Just take my word that I have a giant bottle of tea and it's great. Alright, so. Different story anyway. Yeah, exactly. Rod. I told you so many times that there was nothing you could do to help me, and yet you still refused to listen to me. Lucette. Because I refused to let you die! Can you not see that you were important to me, Rod? Rod. Silence. Mithros. Oh my, what a scandal. Rod. Lucette. I turned to Sir Mithros and stared daggers at him. Lucette. I asked you to help Rod. Why did you have to involve Emmeline in this? Mithros. It was a necessary requirement that the princess be the one to give him the knife, Your Highness. It was, after all, the mermaid's sister that brought her the knife to kill her beloved. Rod. So that's how she knew about all of this. She came here crying and begging me to break my curse because she didn't want me to die. I almost wanted to do it. But I could never kill someone. That is why I will always refuse to break my curse, even if I really want to live. Mithros. Perhaps I miscalculated. Oh well, this can be remedied. Oh no, he's about to hypnotize Rod, I think. Sir Mithros waves his hand. His fingers begin to glow subtly with magic. Because you know, when you be this kind of asshole, it just doesn't occur to you that there might be some people who just will not kill someone under any circumstances. Especially someone they care about. Wild concept. Mithros should look it up. Anyway. Lucette. What are you... Rod. Ugh! Lucette. Rod! A faint green glow surrounds Rod as he doubles over. Lucette. What are you doing to him? Mithros. What I should have done to begin with. The witch who cursed him said that he must do this of his own accord, but seeing as he refuses, I am going to have to bend the rules slightly. Rod stands abruptly and begins walking towards Viorica. The knife in his hand glistens beneath the patches of scattered moonlight in the room. Sebi. Princess! He's gonna kill Viorica! Lucette. Stop this, Sir Mithros! Thinking to herself, where is Delora when we need her? I run toward Rod and wrap my arms around his waist in an attempt to stop him, but whether through magic or his own strength, he continues onward. I end up being dragged behind him. Lucette. Rod, snap out of it! Sebi. Rod! Rod. I must kill her. His gaze is so glassy and his words so mechanical that he sounds nothing like himself. Lucette. No! Mithros, stop this! I'm ending our deal! Mithros. My apologies, Your Highness, but not even I can dispel my magic once it has been casted. It will only fade of its own volition once what needs to be done has transpired. That, or perhaps in the most unlikely circumstances, the prince will simply shake the spell himself. Though Mithros's words are apologetic, his expression is anything but. In fact, he looks amused by it all. Voice. Mysterious voice. Not so fast! Someone else using magic. A crimson ball of light rushes towards Mithros. He waves his hand through the air and is barely able to conjure a shield to protect himself from Delora's magic. Yay! Where is Delora when you need her? Here, finally! She's not always been there and when she could have been, but I am happy that she's here in the final hour. Who said? Delora! Delora. It wasn't exactly easy to find you all, especially with the silencing spell. Such a nuisance. Lucette. That is not important. Help me stop Rod. Frost slowly appears beneath Rod's feet. It spreads up his legs, freezing him in place. I sigh with relief as I collapse onto the floor. My arms are sore with the effort of trying to hold Rod back. Mithros clicks his tongue as he faces Delora. Mithros. I don't believe you were invited to this play, traitor. Lots of magic flashies. She's not always there when you call, but she's always on time. Yep. If that is a song, I don't quite recognize the origin, but that's a very applicable line. Light gathers around Mithros's hand. Moments later, he releases the energy toward her. Delora, in turn, conjures a barrier, successfully protecting herself from Mithros's magic. Delora. I always did fancy myself a party crasher. Still, to think that you were alive this whole time. Myth. Lucette. Myth? Delora. His real name. He is one of the Tenebrarum bearer's servants. Lucette. Shocked. Thinking to herself, this person was my mother's servant? Mithros. Allow me to correct you. I am her only faithful servant. I am nothing like that ungrateful bastard who betrayed her to the fairies. Lucette, thinking to herself, who is he talking about? Delora. Sorry. Always on time by Joan. Featuring Ashanti. Yeah, fair enough. I wonder if the ungrateful bastard he is referring to might be Delora? Anyway, Delora. Well, whatever it is you're planning, forget about it. There's no way we're letting you get away with it. Mithros. Oh, well, do try your best. But first, a reminder. I am the superior witch here. Energy crackles in the air as sparks begin to form around his hand. Lucette, thinking to herself, this spell is taking longer than his other spells. I notice Delora's worry moments before she is able to cast a shield on herself. Lucette, thinking to herself, this is not good. Mithros releases the bolts of lightning in Delora's direction. The impact causes both the shield and the ground to shudder. Lucette. Delora! The smoke clears, and miraculously Delora stands unharmed. No sooner has a sigh escaped my lips than that another frightening sound echoes across the room. There is a loud crack, and I realize that it is coming from Delora's shield. Everything after that happens in a blur. Delora is still trying to hold the shield up when Mithros casts another spell at it. It shatters, and the magic seeps through and hits her directly. Lucette. Delora! Mithros. Really now? Have you forgotten the most important lesson in defense magic? Always conjure another shield after being hit by a powerful spell. Or, oh, I do apologize. Perhaps I did not give you enough time to cast another shield? How thoughtless of me. Delora lies on the floor, unmoving. Lucette. Delora! I am about to rush to her side when Mithros moves to stand in front of me with a malicious grin on his face. Mithros. It will do you no good to be in denial, princess. Lucette. How could you? How could you hurt another witch? Mithros. It is not a crime to destroy a traitor. He looks back at Delora with clear disdain. Then he sets his eyes back on me and raises his eyebrows. Mithros. It is foolish of you to try and stop this. You wanted this, and I will not allow you to renege on our deal. The prince will break his curse, and you will help me. Lucette. Help you? Mithros. Yes, I went to great pains to make sure Alcaster kept you safe just so you could repay me. Lucette. You said that you made a deal with Alcaster to borrow the knight's assistance. Mithros. And what would I need the knight's assistance for, dear princess? I never needed the knights. I just needed Alcaster to keep you safe. I would have gotten rid of him myself if I wasn't sure the king would eventually find me. Lucette. I think that word is pronounced renege, as in renegotiate. Fair enough. So, renege on our deal. Okay. Noted for future reference. Lucette. So this whole time, you were only trying to keep me safe? To use me? Mithros. Use is such a simple, ugly word. Remember, I just wanted you to help me. Sebi. Princess! I turn around and realize that Delora's spell on Rod has faded, and that he is now only a few feet away from Viorica. Lucette. Rod! I force myself to run towards him as fast as I can manage. Lucette, thinking to herself. I will not let you kill anyone! I do not know what I must do to stop him, so I do the first thing that comes to mind. I put myself between Rod and Viorica just as he is about to plunge the knife into her. Mithros. Princess! Oh no! Oh, that was a... Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Okay. I wonder if oh gosh, alright, so now I wonder if the bad end is everything up to this point goes exactly the same, but the knife doesn't just hit her shoulder. That should be her last needed good deed. Oh, you're right, it probably is. So hopefully they'll break both their curses. My body is racked with pain the moment the blade sinks into my shoulder. Set. Ugh. I collapse to the floor and hold on to my injured shoulder. I can feel my blood seeping between my fingers. Mithros. You fool! You could have easily been killed! Lucette. I do not care. I love Rod, and I would never let him do something that he would regret for the rest of his life. Aww. That's very sweet. And this is also very much tracks. He did say that it's possible, theoretically possible, but not likely for Rod to be able to just snap out of it himself. If anything was going to get him to snap out of the magic trance by himself, it is Lucette having just been terribly injured, I think. So, we'll see. I'm sure this will be fun and dramatic and emotionally rewarding. I cringe. Tears cloud my vision as the pain worsens. Rod. In fact, here we go. Rod. Lucette! I feel Rod's arms around me as he cradles me to his chest. I look up at him to see that his eyes are fixed on my bleeding shoulder. Rod looks at me with anguish. He grabs a handkerchief from his pocket and presses it to my shoulder. Rod. I can't believe I did this. Ah! Yes! Yes! Anna, do you remember you guessed that it would be like a thing where he would speak for himself and that would be how we knew the curse was broken and it would be because he was in love with Lucette? I think that is what has just happened. Yes. I stare in shock as his lips move. It is not Sebi speaking, but him. Lucette. Your voice. You broke your curse. Rod. Shocked. OMG, yes, yes. Lucette, thinking to herself. But how? A bright light envelops us, and for a few moments I have to close my eyes against its brightness. I reach out to grab at my necklace, but it is gone. I open my eyes and panic, but the necklace is definitely not there. Rod. Lucette, the glass slippers. I glanced down to see a pair of smooth glass slippers on my feet. Yep, the Cinderella slippers. Rod. Yes, this is exactly what I'd hoped would happen. Rod. You broke your curse by breaking mine. I hear the sound of shattering glass, and I turn to see Mithros staring at a broken vial. Lucette. What is that? Frost has begun to form at his feet and is now spreading up his legs. Mithros. Shocked. What is happening? Nice. Delora. Always have a backup, as they say. Seems like you're the only one who Seems like you're the one who forgot the basics of combat. Never turn your back on an opponent unless you're sure that they're dead. Your bloated ego does wonders in turning the tide of battle. Delora is now back on her feet and walking towards Mithros. She dusts off her dress as she moves. Lucette, thinking to herself. Delora is unharmed? Mithros. You! But how? Delora. Did you really think I'd forget to conjure another shield? The frost has now made its way up to Mithros' neck. Mithros. Inconceivable! A lowly witch like you could never cast this powerful a spell. Delora gestures at the glass shards on the floor. Delora. That's where Parfait's new special potion comes in handy. It makes my magic much more powerful. The second most basic lesson is to never underestimate your opponent. Looks like you were the terrible pupil. Mithros opens his mouth to speak, or perhaps to scream, but by the time he opens his mouth, the frost has completely devoured him, leaving him nothing but an icy sculpture. Rod. Delora! Lucette is... Delora. Has her bleeding stopped? Rod. I think so. I cannot make out what they say after that. My world starts spinning and everything starts to blur, so I close my eyes. I feel Delora's hand on my forehead. The warmth relaxes me somewhat. Delora. We got you, princess. Rod. Hang in there, Lucette. I'd say never turn your back on your opponent until you're sure they're dead is really a corollary of never underestimate your opponent. Yeah, you're fair. They're kind of the same. In the same category, for sure. My body becomes heavier by the second as I lean my head against Rod's chest. And then I feel myself falling into never-ending darkness. When I open my eyes, the first thing I see are the soft rays of sunlight seeping through the window. Lucette. I am in my own room? I attempt to sit up and cringe when I feel a sharp pain in my shoulder. I reach out to touch it, only to realize that it has been neatly bandaged. Despite the injury, my body feels oddly light, stronger than it even was before. Lucette, thinking to herself. I remember I placed myself in front of Viorica to stop Rod from hurting her. But where did this energy come from? Well, it is morning. You have just turned 18. If I were to hazard a guess, I'm gonna say probably the Tenebrarum crystal? The door opens and Emmeline walks in with a tray of food in her hands. She stops when she realizes that I am staring at her, and nearly drops the tray in her rush to stand beside me. Emmeline. Lucette, you're finally awake! I was so worried about you. I'm so sorry. This was all my fault. Lucette. What are you talking about? It was mine, not yours. Emmeline. I remember bringing the knife to Rod, but I can't remember much of what happened before or after that. Just that when I woke up in the throne room, I saw that you were bleeding in Rod's arms. I thought you were going to... The rest of Emmeline's words break into pieces as she begins to cry. Emmeline. I'm so sorry for forgetting about you. I made you work too hard while you were my personal maid, and... I shake my head with a sigh. Lucette. It was not your fault that I was cursed, Emmeline. Emmeline. But I look at her tear-stained face. Lucette, thinking to herself. She was not at fault, yet here she is crying. She really is a good person. I spread my arms. Emmeline. Lucette? I turn away, suddenly embarrassed. Lucette. You look like you needed a hug. I'm so precious! I'm so happy! I was also kind of wondering if everyone, would remember what happened while she was cursed, which seems like they did. So I'm glad. It's good that they do, just because, that means that Emmeline and Lucette can, retain their friendship. And you looked like you needed a hug. It's just so sweet. I love their friendship. It's just very emotional and good. And it's just very, very good, and it makes me happy. Emmeline stares at me for a few moments. I am about to reconsider when I suddenly feel her arms around me. Emmeline. I am so happy. I hug her back and stroke her hair. I cannot help but smile at the warmth that spreads in my chest. Lucette. Thank you. Emmeline pulls back, her face full of concern. Emmeline. What? What will happen to you and Rod now? I saw how close the two of you got. And I saw how Rod looked at you last night. Lucette. Wait, last night? So today is... Lucette, thinking to herself. My birthday and the day I become the bearer. Is that the reason I feel so strangely energized? Tracks. Emmeline. Oh! Emmeline walks up to one of my doll shelves and picks up the doll she had placed there months ago. Emmeline. Happy birthday! I meant to give this to you earlier as a surprise before you were cursed. Anyway, I know it's not as pretty as the other dolls from your collection, but I hope you like it. Lucette. It is beautiful. Thank you. I take the doll in my arms as a knock sounds on the door. Lucette. Come in. The door opens and Rod steps inside. His eyes widen when he sees Emmeline. Rod. Em? Emmeline. Oh, I was just about to leave. Emmeline slides off my bed and heads for the door, but before she closes it, she turns to us once again. Emmeline. I know how complicated this would be for the both of you, but I want you to know that I will support you. So my lips are sealed. Emmeline winks before finally closing the door behind her. There is an awkward silence in the room before Rod approaches me and sits on the edge of the bed. Rod. How are you feeling? Lucette. It still hurts, but I will be fine. Silence. Rod. What's wrong? Lucette. I'm just not used to hearing your voice from your own lips. Rod. Oh. Lucette. But I see that you still have Sebi with you. Rod. I've grown too fond of him to completely set him aside. He's helped me through a lot. That's precious. Sebi. Bummer, I can't read his thoughts anymore. Sebi, it's probably for the best. He can speak for himself now. And he's already learned to open up a little bit more. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You can just be friends now. And actually, this makes me really happy. I'm really pleased with, the cute, clearly sentient little stuffed friend being, just gonna hang around. Sebi is here to stay as a very good friend. Rod. There was never any need for you to do that in the first place. Sebi. Is that so? Rod shakes his head and sighs silently. Lucette. So what happened last night? How is it you were able to break your curse? You did not kill Vairika. Rod. In the original fairy tale, the Little Mermaid could retain her humanity only if the prince loved her back. Though it never happens in the fairy tale, it is still an element of her curse. But still, because the prince never fell in love with her, the only way for the mermaid to live was to kill him. I fell in love with you unknowingly. When you told me you loved me as well last night, that broke my curse. Okay, so it was, he had to realize that he was in love with her for it to properly break, and he only realized it once she said that she loved him. That tracks. I feel my cheeks turn warm. Rod coughs, his own cheeks flushed. Rod. So there you have it. The Little Mermaid never had a fairy tale ending, but I did. I never had to kill Viorica. But because my curse started with Viorica, I assumed it had to end with her too. It turns out that the person I loved just needed to love me back. I was mistaken. It never needed to be Viorica. Who said, I see. We stare at each other for a few moments, the awkward silence returning. I change the subject as quickly as I can. Who said, what became of Sir Mithros? Rod. Delora brought him back to Lady Parfait. She is the one who will properly punish him. Lucette. And what of Viorica? Rod. Delora returned her to her home yesterday. She does not remember anything that happened. Lucette. Everything is back to how it was, then? You are back to being my stepbrother? I cannot help but feel crestfallen at this truth. Blood binds, but so do sibling bonds. Rod and I can never have what either of us want. Alright. Sorry, I just need to take a moment. I assume because this is supposed to be a good ending, like, well, you know what? The good ending I was never promised that the good ending would have them get together, but we'll see. The reason I've decided, I mean, you know, it's fine, like, it's media, so I am very much a proponent of, like, it is okay to like stuff even if it's somewhat, like, in media, in fiction, as long as it's, even if it's somewhat problematic. But in this case, I don't even feel like it's a very bad example of the step-sibling, like, relationship trope, just because, like, literally they met for the first time, like, a year previous. Which does kind of make it, like, a whole different, a whole different situation than if they had, like, grown up together or something more awkward like that. But yeah, so they're definitely not sidestepping it, which is probably for the best. They're, like, dealing with this, like, okay, even if we did not grow up together and we are only, like, step-siblings by marriage, and that is only a very recent development, it still makes things real awkward. So let's see how the game decides to deal with that. Rod. Silence. I don't want to forget these feelings I have for you, Lucette. If I had never made that deal with the witch, then maybe we might have actually been able to be together. Lucette. But had you not been cursed, our paths never would have crossed. I reach for Rod's hand. He laces his fingers through mine with a small smile. Lucette. I love you, Rod. Rod. I love you too. Lucette. But... Rod leans forward and kisses my cheek. Rod. I know. 1 month later. Ever since I broke my curse and became the new Tenebrarum bearer, I've been training under Parfait and Delora so that I can learn to control my newfound powers. I never wanted this responsibility, but it is a burden I was born into. It is necessary I help maintain the balance between light and dark that has been missing for so long. Now that I am the new Tenebrarum bearer, Parfait wants the two of us to work together in maintaining that peace. Lucette, thinking to herself. I do not wish to cause any pain or suffering to the people, especially the people whom I cherish. Sometimes I still wonder what Sir Mithros wanted me to do for him, but that is not important anymore. So I'm probably not going to do it on stream, but I am probably going to go back and see the bad ending, because I bet we would only have found out what Sir Mithros wanted her to do with the bad ending. For my canon playthrough, which is the playthrough I will actually be streaming, I am just as happy that we never had to find out. I still have much to learn, but right now, as the new bearer, my priority is to get rid of the fairy tale curse once and for all. I bet it is important, though. You mean, like, what Mithros was going to ask her? I don't disagree, but I also suspect that if it's plot relevant, we will find out in a later route. So, look forward to that. Because the order, like, I'm very specifically playing the routes in the recommended story order, and the story order is recommended as it is because it goes in order from least overarching, like, least spoilery to most spoilery. Which means that we will basically get to learn more about the story as I go through the routes, which I really like. I mean, there are other games that don't really, like, you know, some Otome games have, like, a story order, some don't as much, but I think it's very cool to have a story order when there is one, just because you get to slowly, reveal the rest of the story over the course of all the routes, and it's just, I don't know, I think it's cool. It makes me happy. I still have much to learn, but right now, as the new bearer, my priority is to get rid of the fairy tale curse once and for all. For the time being, everyone at the March End waits patiently for the day that I will learn to lift their curses. Since everything transpired, my relationship with Ophelia and Emmeline has improved. Lucette, thinking to herself, Emmeline is fond of calling me the best sister, even though I am the only one she has. That's precious! I really like Emmeline and Lucette's friendship, and it's really important to me. My relationship with the king, however, has yet to be mended. I'm doing my best to open up to him and to give him a chance, but the efforts are slow going. This is not shocking to me, I gotta say, just because it is clear that this was not all on Lucette's end. Like, her father has also been a little, like, could have tried a lot harder than he did at many stages in life. So, dude's a little out of touch, and also a little just bad at this, and so even with Lucette trying, like, he needs to get better at trying as well. I do not ask why he acted the way that he did in the past, but I know that in order to move forward, I must let go of the past. Lucette has matured so much over the course of this story, and it's lovely. Lucette, thinking to herself, it is finally time. I've been waiting for this all day. I head back into my room to change my dress into something less conspicuous. Afterwards, I head out into town and into the forest for my designated meeting. Ooh, is it a secret rendezvous with Rod? It is a relief that the king allows me to leave the palace on my own. I would not have been able to come here with guards. Lucette, thinking to herself, I guess me being the Tenebrarum bearer puts him at ease. If the title reassures him and allows me to come out here on my own to meet Rod, then I'm not complaining. Rod still uses the secret passage he has always used to sneak out of the palace. Emmeline knows about our secret meetings and helps to cover for our disappearance if necessary. Lucette, thinking to herself, it makes me happy that Emmeline approves of our relationship, that we do not have to keep it a secret from absolutely everyone. At first, Rod and I both attempted to keep our distance without making it seem too obvious to everyone around us. Though Ophelia seems to suspect something is going on between the two of us, she has not asked questions. Which, to be fair, like, Ophelia had already picked up on it before Lucette's curse was broken, so she was like, well, I remember thinking that it was a good thing if it was what they wanted before remembering who she was, so I'm not gonna get in the way. That's my theory. That's gonna at least be my headcanon for what's going on in Ophelia's head. Right, so Emmeline was not happy with our decision. She said she felt terrible that we would be forced to let go of something so precious on account of our titles. She was right. More than that, it was difficult for the two of us to deny our feelings for each other. In the end, we came up with a solution, even if it is temporary. We decided to secretly meet up in the forest every once in a while so that we could be together without any pretenses. Even just for a little while. When I catch sight of Rod, I run towards him and throw my arms around his neck. I feel Rod snuggle his face into the crook of my neck. Rod, may I have this dance? That's really sweet. This is really cute. And I mean, I would have been, like, I'll admit I would have been happier if they could have found some way to work around the step-sibling thing so that they could be together openly. I mean, it's not over yet. I'm still holding out a little bit of hope. But even without that, the two of them together are very sweet, and I am really liking this. Like, I know when I first started this route, I wasn't sure if I would like Rod, because he didn't immediately strike me as a personality type I appreciated, but the game was super well written. Both him and Lucette were really well written as characters, and, like, their interactions were really well written, and I felt like it had a really good natural development to their relationship, and like, really the game has just done a great job of emphasizing, like, the ways in which they match well, and I hope that it is that good for all of the routes, just because, like, this was really good and it really won me over. I take Rod's hand and begin dancing to a silent song. The first time I danced with him, it was to prove a point. It was when neither of us even liked each other. I remember this as I stare at him. Rod, what? Is there something on my face? Lucette, I was just remembering how much you hated me back then, and now, here we are. Rod, fate sure loves to toy with us. I smile at Rod. Lucette, thinking to herself, just for a little longer. I want to be by his side. I do not know how long we can keep this up, but every day I wish for the same thing. I wish that I can live my life openly loving Rod. I wonder, would that dream ever be possible? Alright, that seems to be the end, and I'm going to tell you right now, I have a headcanon, and I think it's a great headcanon, and I will stop talking if this turns out to be more complicated than just the visual. Oh, is this going to just do like a little skim through? I have a headcanon to make that a happier ending. Grabs popcorn, go on. So, we have established that witches' curses. So, like, I mean, from what Mithros said, Delora's not even actually that powerful of a witch, and yet she was able to do the fairy tale curse on such a significant fairy tale curse on Lucette that, like, I mean, then again, we know that Parfait could have been boosting her to do it, but, like, that everyone forgot who she was. And Lucette wants to do away with the fairy tale curses, but, like, also Delora did some kind of, like, wave her hands magic. Oh, I like this little recap of all the cute images. But yeah, Delora, like, waved her hands, and magically the palace thought it was okay that this random stranger came in as the personal maid to Emmeline. So there's a really easy solution here. Once Lucette gets better at magic, she literally just waves her hands and does a magic spell, so that everyone but her, Emmeline, and, like, their immediate family, like, I mean, if they'd have to talk to Ophelia, but assuming Ophelia's chill with it, which I was kind of reading like she was, like, you literally cast a spell so that the whole kingdom forgets who Rod is, just like they forgot who Lucette is. That is the bad slippery slope. Okay. Remember, this is a fictional context, but I do hear that, but I think just because this is a fictional headcanon, and it is how I choose to imagine the story eventually goes. I see where you're coming from. Definitely a slippery slope, and I can understand the game not wanting to go there. Mucking with people's memories is sort of part of the issue. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. There's not really a better way. And Tara would be wrong. Tara? If that was a typo, please let me know. If it wasn't, I don't get the... Oh, Tara, like, more like do magic to make it okay for them to be together because of all the mitigating things. Okay, fair. Maybe we don't do magic to make everyone forget it. I have an alternate plan that might work just as well. It's a little awkward, but we like... And it's not going to be super fun for Rod, but I think that everyone in the immediate family would go along with it if they want to support them. Oh, I'm sorry, I totally missed John referencing Buffy. Oh, that sounds like the kind of solution Tara from Buffy would have come up with. Well, fine, maybe IRL, if I was in a Buffy situation, I'd be... No, I mean, to be fair, you say that, but like... The Tara and Willow situation from Buffy was really bad because it was making the person you're in a relationship with forget a fight you had with them is really sketch. I'm not suggesting that she erased the memories of anyone who knows them, like who is close to them, just everyone else in the world, you know, much less bad. But I hear what you're saying, and I'm gonna go ahead and say I still think that it's way less bad to erase strangers' memories, but sure, slippery slope. Once you do it once, now it becomes a bit more okay. Alright, fine. So we'll take that headcanon, we'll set it aside. Here's an alternate one. Hear me out. Or, like, hopefully this one will sound a little less slippery slopey. They talk to Ophelia and Gennaro, the parents, and they ask them to publicly disown Rod. So he is, and it's gonna suck for Rod, but like we give it like maybe a year so people are used to the idea of, oh, Rod is not the prince anymore, he is officially not part of the family anymore, and then the year later they make their relationship official. And then it's fine, because if he's been officially disowned, he's not related anymore. Or ask the king to publicly proclaim the relationship, okay? Yeah, I guess. I just feel like people would be less weird about it if he was, on some level, not officially considered part of the family. The king's name is Gennaro, because he is a generic king. Like, let me just read that. Also, the king's name is Gennaro, because he is a generic king. Fun story, I made that exact same joke when he first showed up on screen. Gennaro, the slightly generic king. He is a pretty weak character all around. Like, I mean... Not in the sense of, like, poorly written, but in this, well, in the sense that I actually think he is well written as a wet rag. He's just a really ineffective dude. But yeah, truth be told, I think that could also work. Have the king make, like, basically a proclamation that, like, publicly declare, like, hey, here's the circumstances and why we're calling this relationship okay, and, like, he was your prince before by marriage, and now he's your prince by marriage again, but differently. Like the dad in Cinderella. Oh, wait. Yeah, the fairy tale... in the fairy tales, the kings are often unnamed and irrelevant, like, or like the dad in Cinderella, etc. Yep, that's fair. He is, and that tracks for something called Cinderella Phenomenon, where the main character is given, like, a whole Cinderella thing. Like, Cinderella's father in the original fairy tale is also pretty useless. Well, and then I think in most versions he, like, dies, right? And then, well, there's not much he could do at that point. So, like, Gennaro isn't dead, so there's a possibility that he can, like, make it up. But yeah, also dead. Yes, exactly. So Gennaro might be able to make it up to Lucette, but like, I just hope Lucette doesn't have to keep being the one putting in all the work. Like, you know what? Here's an alternate, slightly expanded headcanon that works with the king just publicly declares it okay headcanon, which is, like, as Gennaro sees that Lucette is genuinely trying to make an effort to open up to him, and let's assume he's certainly implied that he does care about her, and let's say Gennaro is slowly starting to get his shit together, and, like, as he commits to trying to make a better effort himself, he starts to notice the little signs that Lucette and Rod are really interested in each other, and he's like, oh shit, oh hey, that's a really cool thing I could do for my daughter after, like, spending her entire life being useless and not being able to do anything for her. I can maybe do this one thing for her and figure out a way for her to be with Rod. So, I'm happy to headcanon just simply the king figures out a way to make it work. Even if that way is as simple as a public proclamation that is, like, I mean, another really easy way to go about it would be if the king divorced Ophelia, but I don't want to make them do that, because, like, I think it would make everyone a little sad, and I think hey, we're declaring this okay for various reasons that mostly involve the fact that they are only step-siblings by legal documentation and within the last year. Yeah, no, that would be bad. Yeah, exactly. Like, the Gennaro and Ophelia should get to be together as well, I believe. Which is also why I think the, like, disowning Rod would not be a terrible way to do it, but, like, you could mix those two options. The king makes a proclamation, and he's like, we're disowning Rod, but don't worry, it's not because we hate him or he did anything wrong. It's because the princess is going to marry him. And then he'll still be your prince. And, like, that just seems to me like the neatest solution, because then there wouldn't be any legal binding. Well, I mean, I don't know how fantasy world works, how this fantasy medieval kingdom works legally with the relationship, but... So yeah, I am having fun headcanoning how to make it work, but, like, I actually kind of appreciate that the game didn't try to just hand-wave it. I already said that, but... yeah. And anyway, that last image of them together was extremely precious and extremely cute, and, like, you know, I also think it is totally valid if anyone playing this game or watching this is, like, not, like, does not appreciate that trope because it is problematic, but, like, I am much more okay with it in this than I would be in some other things, just because I do think they did a good job of making the circumstances about as the least awkward you could with that trope. I also have to go until next time. Oh, I gotta run. This was pretty awesome. Yeah, well, I'm glad that one was a pretty short one, actually, so, like, so you were both able to see the fun ending, the ending before you had to go, so... Yeah, alright, then I am gonna wrap the stream up, and thank you for sticking around as I rambled about headcanons, and thank you for coming in to watch it all, and, like, I appreciate you so much. And anyone who's watching this now, or who is watching this later, I appreciate you a lot. I hope you'll consider following me for more excellent fun contact. Thursday at 7, yes, for sure, for me. Like, for me, that's a definite, and we will hear back later from John for confirmation. And I will keep you in the loop. So, yeah, so in terms of my, like, future plugging myself, I'm probably gonna do a stream on Wednesday, like, I'm thinking in the 6 to 8 span, bye! And I'm gonna do maybe a Minecraft stream, it's not 100% set in stone, and then on Thursday, Anna and I, or Tapao, Vulcan and I are going to do another joint stream, possibly with extra guests. We will see, pending. So I will more information on that as it develops. And yeah, all right. So this was very fun, and oh, I forgot to say, and I think people have already kind of left, but that's fine. That's fine. I might or might not actually start next week. I want to see like. Well, you know what? I will update this on like my Twitter and my Discord, and I will end the stream for now, and we'll go into it later. All right. Bye.